It is day 2 of a 4-day ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, and more prisoners and hostages are set to be released today. In Tel Aviv, residents are urging the Israeli government to do everything it can to bring all of the hostages home.
I think the ceasefire is needed. I understand why it is needed. I think what's most important is that the kidnapped are coming back. This is the first priority.
Israeli officials say they have received a list of hostages to be freed from Gaza today. Reports suggest 14 Hamas hostages will be released in exchange for 42 Palestinian prisoners. That includes women and teenage boys. Now, on Friday, Hamas released 24 people, which included Israeli women and children and Thai farm workers, in exchange for 39 Palestinian prisoners. Under the truce, a total of 50 Hamas hostages will be released in exchange for 150 Palestinians.
They are in good condition and they are surrounded by our multidisciplinary teams, social workers, psychologists, nurses, and doctors.
Now, some of the Israeli hostages who were released by Hamas are now receiving medical aid. Health officials say 4 children and 4 women were taken to the Schneider Children's Medical Center Friday evening. The director of the Harufa Medical Center in Israel also confirmed 11 foreign nationals were seen at that hospital, and they are in good condition. The temporary ceasefire has allowed some Palestinians to return home for the first time since the deadly conflict began. Many, though, have nothing to return to. Weeks of heavy Israeli bombardment destroyed countless buildings. The conflict has claimed the lives of more than 14,000 Palestinians and more than 1,200 Israelis. Roughly 1.7 million people have been displaced in Gaza. Let's bring in UNICEF spokesperson James Elder. James, thank you for joining us this morning.
Hi there, Roger.
You are in Gaza. You've been there for the last day or two. What is the situation like now that some aid is getting through?
It's a complete mix. You know, you see the positive images of finally these Israeli children getting home, at least some of them, which was what everyone's been desperately waiting for a long time. And of course, some of the Palestinian children who've been detained getting home. And it's a big day for aid. It's a big day for getting aid to the north, just as yesterday was, but they're getting incrementally larger. So they're positives, Roger, and people have just got a moment of respite, and they use that respite. But they use it to look for loved ones. They use it to bury loved ones. They use it to look for a few litres of water, because still, you know, there's not enough aid until we get days after days of peace. So I'm spending my days in hospitals here, Roger, and they're full of children coming down almost by the bus with the most ghastly wounds of shrapnel and of burns and of limbs that haven't been tended to for days and will be amputated. So there's a fear and a sorrow that's taken root in this place.
Is there enough help coming in over the last couple of days and what's expected over the next 2 days, or how much more is needed?
Yeah, days like yesterday and today are exactly what's needed, but I can't stress enough. We can't do this for 2 or 3 more days and then go back to bombardments, and I think the average is around 100 children killed a day. I can't bear to think of when a residential area gets bombed, Roger, the injuries to children, they're not 1 or 2. They will get head injuries, they will get shrapnel, they will get horrendous burns, and often limbs will be lost. That all happens to one child. That's what I've been seeing now. I can't begin to explain the sound of the screams of children, or the smell of rotting limbs from that bus. So we can't return to that, because that will also stop aid going to the north. It's a stain on our conscience to think that we would just return to that position. So this is the right amount of aid. We need to keep doing that, but that has to be part of a lasting ceasefire and a lasting peace for children here, for children, let's be honest, across the region.
Are you optimistic that the pause will continue, maybe extend beyond these 4 days? And what happens if it doesn't?
It's a very good question. I think the best thing is to talk. When I talk to those people on the ground, all I'm trying to do is to listen, and they're not terribly optimistic, and therefore they're frightened. There's a real sense. I mean, you see people's panicked faces. I'm talking to professionals. You know, I talked to a lawyer this morning, and she had saved up a whole life to build a house, and it's now been destroyed. And she was talking about that. What do I do? And then she stopped herself and she said, "I'm sorry. I'm embarrassed to speak about having lost my house because there's so many people have lost loved ones." So if the ceasefire holds, we stop a disease outbreak, we stop children, so many children in the hospitals just with basic sicknesses from unclean water, and we stop adding to the thousands of children who've been killed in the most ghastly ways. If it doesn't, then I can't imagine what this looked like. The hospital that I just saw that is imprinted on my brain will somehow be a good day, and that's a terrifying thought.
James, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
James Elder, spokesperson for UNICEF, joining us live from Gaza.